1947, the third largest scale classified expedition to Antarctica, where up to 200 people were involved, as well as heavy equipment and many other things. As you know, in 1936 to 1937, there were also two classified Soviet expeditions to Antarctica, where incredible artifacts were discovered. And I will now tell you why the third expedition was planned. When Germany was defeated in World War II, as you know from my previous videos, Soviet troops discovered many things in German bunkers. There is also a video about this on my channel. High-tech devices were discovered that are not even exist today. 99% of the discovered devices, as stated in the files, could not be deciphered at all as to what energy they used or how these devices worked, as well as in found unidentified flying object. You can now see these documents on your screens. These are official KGB archival documents. And now I will tell you why the third Soviet expedition to Antarctica was planned. As you can now see in this document, the following is written. I translated this and offer you also a translated small excerpt. Unfortunately, I cannot show you everything here, but over time you will learn many things. Also, some documents have incorrect dates, and in the newly printed documents, this has already been corrected, specifically in the 1985 documents. Now, let's delve into the topic and find out what made Stalin decide to plan a new expedition to Antarctica. As stated in the files, already in the new 1985 version, the Ahnenerbe during the Third Reich planned an expedition to Antarctica, where they found an underwater place under an iceberg, where there was a huge gold deposit, the richest place, where they managed to extract and transport a lot of gold to Germany. However, they also left even more gold there. The amazing thing is that this place was used by others before, because during the expedition they discovered many damaged units, high-tech devices, unidentified flying objects, as well as strange ships that were abandoned there. Who was there before and who did all this belong to remains a mystery to this day, although there are many versions. I will talk about this a little later. The footage you are seeing is from the KGB archives. These are unique shots. I will tell you briefly, the members of the Soviet expedition could not find this gold deposit. They did manage to go underwater in a submarine and discovered a secret underwater huge hangar, but there was nothing there. Unfortunately, there are no photos or videos of this hangar, but it is written about in the files. As it is written, this place looked like an underwater hangar, presumably for floating objects. However, it was very large scale and abandoned a long time ago. I will tell you something very interesting. The files specifically state that during this expedition, the Soviet expedition was not located on the official map of Antarctica that we know. It was located in a place that is not marked on today's maps. I will not tell you this yet. You will find out about it in the second series, which I will release later. The footage shows these strange buildings, objects, etc. Officially, the Soviet expedition had no answer as to where these objects came from in Antarctica. This did not resemble the architecture of people of that time. It did not resemble the human technologies of that time. At first glance, from a distance, you would think that it was made by humans. And if you ask me, yes, it is. But who were the people who carried out such constructions there? Why did they abandon so many machines and buildings? Why did they abandon the flying objects? A lot of things was also discovered during the 1936 expedition. However, in much smaller quantities than in 1947. And this expedition had a specific task to find this gold deposit. At that time, the Soviet Union desperately needed money to recover after the war, because much was destroyed in the Soviet Union. But as I wrote above, this place could not be found. Also, during the 1936 to 1937, also 1947 expeditions, there were many tunnels in the glaciers in this area. As for the opinions on where these objects came from and who carried out the work, there is an interesting theory by Felix Ziegel, well known to us, a Soviet writer, mathematician, astrologer, and ufologist. His diaries state that the work in Antarctica was carried out by much more technologically advanced people. These people got there a very long time ago through a portal. As you know, in his later years, Ziegel was unofficially under the control of the KGB, and his superior was Orikov, well known to us, who investigated similar unsolved phenomena. According to Ziegel's assumption, these people left what they could there, and they themselves left our dimension again through the portal. Ziegel wrote with certainty that whoever arrived in Antarctica before us had already found this portal in their world, through which they could travel to different dimensions. And as is known today, different parallel worlds theoretically exist. During this expedition, inscriptions and unknown hieroglyphs were also discovered. These hieroglyphs were depicted on the walls and also on several ships. These hieroglyphs could not be deciphered. Also, a very strange helicopter, which amazed me. Last year, I posted a short video where I talked about a photo taken from a Soviet ship of a helicopter floating in the water near Cuba. Exactly such a helicopter is depicted on an ancient Egyptian stone artifact. Look at it now. Also, a similar helicopter was also discovered in Antarctica, which, I repeat, amazed me quite a bit, and all this coincides too much. Also, in many places, it was not possible to physically reach during this 1947 expedition, and many things were filmed from the air. As stated in the files, the temperature was particularly low in those places, and it was very dangerous for the expedition. The soil was also quite unstable. These objects are also captured in the footage. It was amazing when several unidentified devices were found that were functioning. Hieroglyphs were depicted on them. However, nothing was known about these devices, what they were intended for. Presumably, they did not even understand what type of devices they were. A clock-like mechanism was also discovered that was also functioning, and many other quite a few interesting artifacts. Some artifacts looked very old. Yurta-like constructions were also discovered, just like the ones the Chukchi people have in the Russian Far East. The members of the expedition who were there for the first time were quite shocked by what they saw. However, for those who participated in the 1936 expedition, this was not such a strange sight. A rather interesting discovery was also a part of a huge ship that was about 50 kilometers from the water. It would be very difficult to explain how it got so far. There was also a floating island building in the water, which was in the water and moved sometimes to the right and sometimes to the left. Building something similar is almost impossible even in today's era. Much remained unexplored in Antarctica, because at that time, the expedition could not physically stay there for a long time due to the climate, and it was also difficult to deliver products on time. They even had horses taken on this expedition. However, if you are interested in my opinion, I think that creatures with large eyes and hairless gray skin do not exist at all. And also, quite a few famous Soviet scientists think exactly the same. Our planet is 100% not visited by such creatures from space. Yes, very strange skulls and bones have been discovered, but are these really aliens? I don't think so, and I will talk about this in my future videos.